Gurus online always make out like their business model is the best. It's always the easiest, the simplest business model, and anyone can do it. And this applies to Amazon FBA gurus too. But what is the true reality of Amazon, Is it really as good as it seems? In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys exactly what you can expect when you're starting your own Amazon FBA business. Now, as far as I know, I'm the first and only person in the Amazon FBA scene to ever show their true net profit. And today, I'm kind of, continuing that theme of pulling back the curtain on the reality of Amazon FBA. So let's get into it. So first up, let's talk about one of the main things that I always see gurus talking about, which is the very tiny amount of time that you're supposed to be able to put into Amazon and get a huge amount out of. I'm partially guilty of this myself. I mean, I've said many times I only work 1 to 2 hours per day on my Amazon FBA business, but this is true. This is actually true. I actually do only work 1 to 2 hours per day currently on my Amazon FBA business. However, this is not a simple blanket statement for when you first sign up to Amazon, you only have to do that work. There will be a long period at the start for at least 6 months where you do have to put in a huge amount of effort. It's a new business at the end of the day. It's true, it's flexible, you can sort of put in as little or as much as you want. But with anything, if you put in the bare minimum, you're going to get the bare minimum out of it. If you want to see the crazy figures that I've been able to achieve myself, you have to be willing to put in a lot of effort. Even nowadays, though still on average, it's still only 1 to 2 hours per day. There are some days where I might just spend the entire day for 6-7 hours working on Amazon FBA, building new systems, perfecting new sourcing methods, kind of trying to break the mold a little bit. And at the start, I mean, God, it was way worse than that. There were days where I would spend literally a 12-hour day just prepping boxes, labeling units, doing the most boring work that admittedly was quite fun when I first started out of it, but towards the end was just laborious. I was just labeling products, sticking them in boxes, sourcing products manually, going through websites. This whole process, it's not easy. It's not something where you can just put in the bare minimum from the start. You've got to be willing to put in a little bit of effort, at least just for 6 months, to be putting in at least 4 hours a day if you can, maybe more if you have the spare time available. And from doing that and putting in that initial bit of effort, you're then able to get to the point where I'm at, where you've outsourced a lot of it to other people and you've got automations and systems in place that mean you don't have to spend as much time kind of working on the business. But if you don't, spend the time doing that and getting to that point where you can put all those systems in place, then it's just not really achievable. You have to put in that little bit of effort at the start to kind of get it all set up. And once it's all set up, then you're living good. But anyone that's kind of saying on social media, yep, just, buy my course and then I'll tell you exactly how to do it. It's fully passive income from the start. You don't need to put in any effort. You just pay me for this and pay me for that and pay me for this and I'll set it all up for you. It's just not true, right? Just do not believe these people. You've got to be willing to put in the work at the end of the day. It's a business, like anything. If you're not willing to put in that little bit of effort at the start, you kind of got to question, is this really the right thing for you? If you're not willing to put in 6 months of semi-hard effort, it's not like it's a big ask or anything. If you're not willing to put that work in, I would say that it's probably just not something that you should be looking into. Stick to your 9 to 5. Next up, I want to talk about initial investment, and specifically the claim that everyone or a lot of people make that absolutely anyone could start Amazon FBA. Now there's some truth to it. Anyone can just sign up to Seller Central. Anyone can just sign up to Keeper and SaaS and all these bits of software that help with it. Can anyone sustain a profitable business with Amazon FBA over a longer period of time if they're only starting with £100? I would say it's going to be really difficult. So as your your baseline costs, the absolute bare minimums besides anything else is SaaS, Keeper, and an actual Amazon account itself. So these 3 bits of software, these subscriptions, it's about 60 quid per month. So your break even is you need to make at least £60 per month to make it all worth it. Now I would say across your total amount of capital, it's fair to expect a 10% gain each month. So if you're working with 600 quid, you can just about pay off your software. But then realistically, that's no good. You're not making money, you're just paying off your software and you're working for the sake of paying the software companies and Amazon. There's no point. If you have at least £1,000, you can expect that the first month you should be able to make 100 quid. From that, you'll have a £40 actual profit to then put back into the business. And if you keep doing that, if even better, if you've got more available capital over time, like if you can kind of put some in from your job, even look into like credit cards, loans, stuff like that. There are many different options. Once you've got that proven track record and you know the business model works and you've got that confidence in it and know that you'll definitely make the money back, then you've got all these other avenues to go about getting more capital. But the reality is, if you're working with less than £1,000, it's going to be extremely difficult to get off the ground. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. You know, some people have crazy flukes and, you know, find super high margin products and, you know, get off the starting blocks in a good way with a small amount of capital, but it's just not easy to do. It is really difficult at the end of the day. The more money you can put into Amazon at the start, the more money you're going to get out of it, and the quicker you're going to get to a point where you're earning, you know, really good numbers. From an investment of just £1,000 at the start, over 5 years projected with compound interest, you could have, you know, 300 grand at the end of that. But that's over a 5-year kind of, you know, working for 5 years basically. It's still a lot of money, but obviously it could be, you know, a huge amount more if you just put in even £2,000. Is double the amount you're working with now, and you've doubled those potential future results. Really, the more money you can get together, the more money you can put into stock, the easier Amazon FBA is going to be for you. Next up, I want to talk about Amazon being saturated. Now, this is one of the most common things that people ask me about. Like, isn't Amazon FBA saturated? Isn't there too much competition nowadays? I've been hearing this for years. I heard this before I even started doing Amazon. People were telling me that Amazon is saturated, but the reality is it's just not really true. You know, Amazon has been doing better results year on year in terms of market share within the UK. There is more e-commerce sales going through Amazon in this country than ever before. There's a similar pattern in almost every other region that Amazon is actually operating in. So it's just not true. You know, the market share is expanding, and I do actually think the competition, if anything, has slightly decreased lately. You know, I think there's been a little bit of a drop off in kind of interest. You know, after COVID, less people are looking for kind of online ways to make money, and because of that, there is just less people that are kind of selling on Amazon. There was a lot of people that started during COVID and just haven't really kind of made a huge amount because they've just been following the crowd, using these same methods that are all over YouTube, which may have worked 5 years ago really well, but the reality is if you're following the crowd and you're doing what everyone else is doing, you're just going to end up in the same boat where you're all kind of selling the same products and competing with each other. So yeah, I mean, in some ways it is a little bit saturated if you're doing the same thing that everyone else is doing. But it's like, you know, if we take it to like a brick and mortar kind of store reference, if you've got like a pizza shop, right, and there's 20 people that all have pizza shops in your town, and all of them sell the exact same pizza, it all tastes the same, it's all just mediocre. How can you really expect that any one of those people running that pizza chain are ever going to get seriously successful? Because they're just doing the same thing as everyone else. It's just boring. It's not going to make any serious money. If you then do something a little bit different and start making that exceptional pizza that no one else is really getting, and you know, or in Amazon terms, getting in that stock that no one else is really finding, and finding those deals that are just kind of really out there, then you can make huge amounts of money, as do I. That's kind of my whole thing, thrives around just doing the stuff that no one else is really doing. If you're doing that, you will have no issue at all. Amazon is, you know, it's like shooting fish in the barrel for me right now. It's so ridiculously easy, and it's crazy how much money you can earn doing the most simple things. But yeah, I mean, if you're just looking all over YouTube and you're not kind of thinking for yourself, how can I, you know, source better products, and you're just getting free information online, the reality is you're not going to do well because it is saturated. That information is saturated. But if you're doing something different, you're going to do amazing. You just got to think outside of the box. And then there is the dreaded problem of product restrictions, or gating. So ungating basically refers to getting approved to sell a certain brand or a certain category on Amazon. And I'll be real, right now it is one of the hardest times to get ungated for brands. Amazon are being more cagey in who they approve than ever before. There are loads of brands now that you have to seek approval for, and you can apply, and if you don't really know what you're doing, you may have a really difficult time getting approved for those brands. Now, I did recently record a really great YouTube video earlier this month, so go have a look at that video and get a real rough idea on how to actually get ungated for all these brands and categories. So if you follow that video guide, you'll have a lot more success with ungating, but it definitely is a real problem for new sellers. It just isn't as easy as it was a few years ago. You know, a few years ago you get approved for anything with just one click, and they wouldn't really ask for like invoices and stuff like that. Now it is more difficult, but there's plenty of ways around it. I myself actually know of a method that I can't really disclose, but it's a way of just kind of circumnavigating the invoice requirements, so you actually don't need an invoice for a lot of brands. But unless you're in the know and you know these sort of tricks, then it is going to be difficult for you starting out. My whole ungating strategy though for new accounts is pretty good at this point. I've taken on a lot of new sellers and taken them from completely fresh accounts to getting approved for almost every single brand on the platform. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, head down to the video description and book in a call with me to learn more about our mentorship program, because that is something I cover in great detail for new sellers, because it is a massive concern. You know, it's all good finding good profitable products, but if you can't actually sell them, a bit kind of no point finding them in the first place. I think another expectation that people have with Amazon FBA is that it's just going to be really easy and it's super simple. Yeah, it's not the case. Amazon FBA is hard. It's why people like me make a lot of money by putting in huge amounts of effort into making it work, and others sign up and just don't really get anywhere. If Amazon FBA was easy, everyone and their mum would be doing it. You know, it's not an easy business model, and anyone saying that is frankly just lying. You know, the whole concept of it is easy. You buy something cheap and you sell it for a higher price on Amazon. That side is the easy side. But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, a lot of admin, a lot of like logistical stuff with, you know, shipping a huge amounts of physical merchandise. It's something that you really do have to think about and have good systems in place. And it not being easy is a big reason that I see people saying that Amazon FBA is a bad business model or whatever, but it's really not the case. It's not a reflection of the business model. It's a reflection of the person saying that. It doesn't mean the business model is bad. It just means that person is bad at it. You know, there are plenty of people, me included, but there's hundreds or if not thousands of other people out there that do Amazon FBA and do really well off it. You know, it does just take a lot of time and effort at the start to learn these sourcing techniques and all the other side of Amazon. And if you're not kind of able to think outside of the box and find these strategies that no one else is really using, sure, it is difficult. But realistically, nothing in life that is easy is really worth doing. You know, if you're going to put in that effort and learn the basics, you can have great success with Amazon FBA. And finally, another concern that people have is that you're reliant on Amazon and they can just kind of kick you off whenever, and if you upset them, they'll just destroy your business and whatever. And I mean, yeah, it's true. You are at the mercy of Amazon, unfortunately. You're selling on their platform at the end of the day. If they want to kick you off, if you've done something wrong, if you've broken the rules, if you've sold fake products, bought from some really dodgy supplier, you know, yeah, they're probably going to kick you off, but that's really on you. You don't want to be, I mean, selling fake goods is illegal, let alone against Amazon terms of service. So if you're doing stuff like that, sure, you're going to get in trouble. But if you're doing Amazon like me, where you've got invoices for everything you're buying, you're always buying from UK VAT registered companies, there's not really anything that can go wrong. Because if Amazon do ask you for that sort of documentation, say there's some annoying customer who's complained and Amazon kind of want to check whether or not you're actually selling legit products, you just send them that invoice and that's it, really. Sometimes it might take a few attempts, sometimes you might have to send them some more information about it, but I myself have never had a claim that I've not been able to dismiss with the correct documentation. And I know many ways around it that I probably won't share in this video that, that, you know, just allow you to kind of beat all of these claims. As long as you've got the documentation, it's just a non-issue, really. And sure, you are still relying on Amazon. At the end of the day, they're the ones bringing in the sales, not you. But, you know, I'm not in this business to build a brand. I'm not in this business to build some massive website for myself and plunge hundreds of thousands of pounds into marketing or whatever. I'm in this because it's easy. You know, I buy products that people already want and I sell them on Amazon where they're already looking to buy them. I'm not trying to do something that's really difficult. You know, I've looked into the avenues of like private label, for example, where you are building your own brand and taking on a lot of that work yourself and marketing it, stuff like that. I've looked into it. I understand it. I know how to do it. I just don't want to, frankly. Like, I've looked into it. It's just a lot of effort. Why would I spend a year or so launching a bunch of products, you know, having a bunch of failed products, then finally maybe getting something that works, or maybe not, who knows? You know, that could take years even if I don't kind of get lucky within the first few products. But I'm not in that game. I'm in this to make some good money now, like within the next couple of years, because a couple of years down the line, I might want to do something completely different. I might launch my own website or do some other business, and this will allow me to build the capital that will allow me to go on and make those businesses work. I think nowadays starting any business outside of some sort of like safety net, like, you know, whether you're doing like something where you're selling on eBay a lot, or people that resell clothes on like Depop and Vinted, or doing what I do through Amazon, all of these platforms provide you with a framework where it's just really easy to make money. And you can then, at a later date, take that money that you've made, plunge it into a more real business where you're kind of more control over everything. and then you've got a lot of money to work with. If I go and make a Shopify site and I've only got £1,000 to my name, there's no way in hell I'm going to get customers, because, you know, how am I even going to pay for ads? £1,000 on ads for something like that is nothing. You know, you've got to compete with big players that are spending millions in their advertising budgets. And that's just not really that doable. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's going to be really, really hard to get that thing off the ground. It's going to take a lot of effort. And as I said, I just want to relax, man. I want to work for my 1 to 2 hours a day and collect my paycheck and go sit on a beach in Thailand and not stress about life. I'm not in this game to spend a lot of time and stress doing this stuff, you know. I just want easy, quick money, and that's what Amazon FBA provides me. So that is exactly what you guys can expect if you're looking to start your own Amazon FBA business. Now, to be honest, making this video, I might have shot myself in the foot a little bit, you know. Hopefully this video hasn't put you off starting Amazon FBA, but you guys know me, I'm an open honest book when it comes to Amazon, and I'm not gonna kind of, you know, hide anything about the business from you guys. The truth is, Amazon FBA is not easy, but absolutely no real business model is. No matter what business you start, you're always gonna face obstacles in some shape or form, you know, and your success is just measured by how quickly you're able to overcome those obstacles. But when it comes to Amazon FBA, all the obstacles you're going to face, I've already been there and done that, and now I know the best way to get around them. You can book in a free consultation call with me where I'll be able to discuss your current situation and how I can help you start your own Amazon FBA business, or kind of, you know, help you with your current one if it's just not going to plan. So head down to the video description and click that link at the top, and I'll be able to kind of speak to you there and get up to speed with where you're at. Lastly, make sure to like and subscribe on this video if you enjoyed it, and click up here to watch my video on whether or not Amazon FBA is dead, so you know whether it's worth starting in 2025. Spoiler alert, it is.